Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. I hope you all had a great winter break if you were able to take some time. Safe travels and all of that. But we're really happy to have you here to kick off the year with us in our first virtual teaching kitchen class of the year. So if you are going to be cooking along with us, this is your reminder to preheat your oven to 350 right now. But I think we will just wait like a little bit longer to see some other people join us. We should be having a decent sized class tonight, which is great. I'm just checking off on our list who's here. Also, if you're going to be cooking along with us, and if you haven't prepped your ingredients yet in advance, like cut and measured and all of that, then feel free to do that now. Okay, I think I'm going to jump into the intro stuff. We've got a really great recipe for you all tonight. This is so delicious. If you follow our Instagram, our HMS, it's at HMS_eats, EATS. We posted a photo of this today because we served it in Elements Cafe. So when Rahul and I tested this recipe, we loved it. And of course, I love taking home the leftovers for myself. So you're gonna love it. Those of you, I think most of you have been here before. We do have some other attendees that hopefully will be joining us that have not been in our classes before. But so I'm Eliza Leone-Jones. I am the dietitian with Restaurant Associates on the HMS campus. We do the food service here. And Chef Rahul can introduce himself as well.
Hi, I'm Rahul. I'm the executive chef at the Harvard Medical School for both Elements Cafe and Courtyard. And I had been running this VTK for almost a year now. So welcome, who has not been here before. And we always have new tricks and real good tasting food. Thank you.
Yes. So just some Zoom things before we really kick it off. So we are recording this. You should have all received a notification of that. And you all are Zoom pros by this point. So everyone's got themselves muted, which is great. So if you have questions, I will be monitoring the chat the entire time. If it's easier for you, if your hands are messy, feel free to unmute and ask us a question. Just like wave us down or feel free to speak up. We also have a few different camera views. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to add, this is our overhead. You should be seeing the 3 camera views pinned right now, myself, Chef Rahul, and our overhead view. So I'm going to be switching around with these throughout the class, showing the view that I think is most helpful in the moment, but you can also pin your preferred view for yourself as well. So again, if you're cooking along, reminder to preheat to 350. And it looks like we've got a couple people cooking along with the cameras on. Anybody with cameras off cooking along with us, just so we know? You can send me a chat or speak up if you'd like. No? Okay. All right, so this virtual teaching kitchen is something that we do every month. We do it open to the HMS public every month. We also are beginning to get more and more requests for private classes, which is really great, like department team building stuff. So if your department or any of your HMS colleagues would like to have a private class, please reach out. We would be happy to schedule this for you with a topic of your choosing, or we can suggest some topics for you. But we do this HMS public class once a month, and we for this quarter, we're focusing our classes on Mediterranean diet. So the class, as you know from the materials I sent out today, Today's recipe is a seared salmon grain bowl, and it's got roasted sweet potato, some roasted za'atar cauliflower. It's got toasted pine nuts and a lemon tahini dressing. So it's really, really delicious. And what's amazing about grain bowls is that they can be modified however you want. So Chef Rahul and I will explain some of that throughout the class. So we've provided you with the recipes, but we always encourage you to modify these recipes however you prefer. If you are not a fan of cauliflower, or if you have a nut allergy or anything like that, just feel free to sub out. So our learning objectives we've got some nutrition learning objectives. Those are to understand the general guidelines of the Mediterranean diet. So I'll be talking about that. And also the nutrition benefits of fatty fish and some other information like sustainable things about fatty fish, specifically salmon. And some culinary learning objectives are to understand how to prepare fresh fish and the food safety concerns with fresh fish. And also the principles of a grain bowl, what grain bowls need and how they can be modified. So we'll be going through all of those things throughout the class. So I'm going to pass it over to Chef Rahul to go through a little bit more our plan of work and some food safety concerns.
Hello everyone. So how Eliza said that we are going to compose a very well-balanced Mediterranean diet, which definitely has more than one component, and this is called a grain bowl with salmon. But there are some additional items that are in there. That is, suppose it need to have some vegetable and has to have some other kind of starch, of course, color and taste and texture and all of those. So we will explain that, and we'll go through that cooking as we are cooking throughout, but very few touch-ups on some of the safety issues and concerns is that we will be handling hot items. So it's very necessary to have some kind of protection like a kitchen towel and a couple of them. And also, like if you're using knife, please be careful that you do not hurt yourself. So also these are the couple of things. Then other one is the cross-contamination that I want to talk about before I tell you anything about the plan of work, and which will entail into that is that like cross-contamination, because most of the product that we have are vegetarian or vegetable and plant-based. But one item that the salmon is a raw fish, and the moment the raw meat comes into the play, it's like very, very important that we do not cross-contaminate. So we just, if you have to process the salmon, process it separate or at a different point of time when we segregate the preparation. So there is at no given time, there is a possibility of cross-contaminating. So it just is always good to be overcautious than just to be negligent about it. This can make us everybody very, very, really sick. So our components today for cooking and for the grain bowl, and we have chosen to, we look at the ingredients that are in the Mediterranean diet and which fall through properly with the nutrition. And we also look at that these are available in the local supermarket, wherever everybody can shop. So these are not exotic stuff. These are the simple items that we can buy in the supermarket, right? So our ingredients today are quinoa, and we're going to cook that. Then after that, we have cauliflower. Then we have sweet potato, and then we have to make a dressing. Then we have to toast the pine nuts, and then after that, we have to sear the fish to compose our bowl. And which, of course, the ingredients could be changed the way around, but it's a general idea that all the meals should be ready to the desired temperature at the same time. Is that not like I have cooked the salmon already and I'm waiting for the quinoa to cook, where the salmon get like cold and hard and it is not at its best presentation. So that's why we think backwards, and what we do is we do a plan of work. So the plan of work is that the item that takes the longest amount of time to cook. So example, some things you can't force to cook and they takes their own time, and that is the right way to cook them. So those items we start first and we put them at a proper temperature or how they're supposed to be, such that they're cooking on the side. And we start with the next least time consuming one that does not need a longer time period to cook it. And then the following one, and the last one are the items that are very sensitive to heat and temperature. And we want to extract the best of this food. That's what we're trying to do. So we evaluate which one when we'll get the best. So today, what we have done, the plan of work is that the grain is dry grain quinoa, and it's going to take, it's not processed or anything. It's just dry grain quinoa. And we are going to start with quinoa first because it's hard grain and it is going to see the water for the first time when we introduce now. So to cook, and then the cooking will process. So we start this cooking, then we put it aside. Then we will process the sweet potato. Next item is sweet potato because it's hard. It takes time to cook. So we're going to cook it and we're going to slice it thinner so it gets ready earlier and faster when we need it, as we need it. Season it, and of course, then after that we're going to cut the cauliflower. Cauliflower takes a little lesser time to cook, but it's still we need time, almost similar time. Then we need to toast the pine nuts. Pine nuts can burn very easily. And then as whoever is cooking with us, I'm sure you have your convection or your under counter oven or under stove oven turned to 350 degrees, because that is what we will need to cook these two vegetables and the nuts. Now, after that, we'll follow into making a dressing. So once the dressing is made, it does not deteriorate. It stays on the side. And then meanwhile, we'll go back and check our vegetables and check our quinoa for the doneness, pull them out of the heat, and then finish them off. And then we start with the salmon, because salmon need to be cooked like last minute. And what we want to emphasize, as we said, to get the best of the best out of it, is like we want to cook it like a restaurant quality. So when you restaurant quality, and for the reason is that it is also sustainable. We're gonna cook the fish with the skin, and we're gonna make sure that the skin comes out crisp, just like a restaurant, with very simple trick that we'll do. We'll see a simple process. It's not a trick. It's just a simple process. We just be careful about, and we'll do that as we go down, and then we'll compose the dish at the end. And then we would like to see how you like it. And there could be many variations of the same dish, as far as we keep the diet balanced in there. The grains could be changed, the protein could be changed, vegetables could be changed, the starch or the dressing of your liking. So we start first with the quinoa. So now we're going to take this plain quinoa, which is just out of the box or the bag, as you will buy in a supermarket. And then the quinoa could be of any color. You can do the golden quinoa, which you call white quinoa, or the red, or you can use the black quinoa. So these, or you may have a blend of all three, or you may choose any other grain like farro or anything you may like. So now I'm going to heat up the pan, and quinoa has, like most of the grains and some of the grains, quinoa has a property that start popping. And when it start popping, it releases a kind of toasty flavor to the entire dish. And that's what we want to impart to this grain bowl. So we want to, as we said, we want to extract the best of each ingredient, yet keeping it simple. Okay. So now I've heated up this pan, and you should have, like, I'm cooking on an induction cooker, but if you have a gas stove or electric stove or an induction cooktop, all will work good. And we're gonna let the pan get real hot.
And it's heated up to high heat.
High heat. It is at the high heat right now. So you see some of the grains have started moving a little bit in there. You see it wanted to pop, and now this is the time. As I pick it up very close, you will see that some of the quinoa is opened up, and now we're going to drop our entire amount of quinoa in there, and then slowly we will start moving it. So like now we have introduced some volume of food which is dry, and it is absorbing the heat from the pan, and then we start toasting it. And if the mic could catch, you can hear it popping.
And it actually does pop. Like you'll start to see like the color will change a little bit. Like instead of seeing the red outside skin, you'll see like the white inside.
Specks of it.
And it actually does kind of smell like popcorn. So like Rahul said, this brings a totally different, if we just cooked the quinoa without toasting it, like that's totally fine. However, this just adds another level of flavor. So you'll see it's starting to have little white flecks in it because it's popping.
If not 100% grain, each grain of quinoa pops. There are some do not pop, and we have to move them away from heat if they don't pop, because we don't want them to burn, because if they burn, they will impart bitter flavor in our dish. And now if you have reached to this, you will see right here, see how they start popping at one point. Yeah. So, and you can smell it, that is like a little toasty. So this is a
We
very,
actually
very
we had a comment to the group. So what we're doing right now is toasting it to develop the flavor, and then we're adding the liquid to it. So
yes,
we're going to be
we're
cooking it.
toasting it to we're toasting it to get a toasted flavor. Like as you may say, if you have a sesame seed, a toasted sesame seed is different than a untoasted sesame seeds. So this is what we're trying to do now. This is heated up enough, and then I have my stock. Now for the stock, you can use any kind of broth, but I have made vegetable stock, and this is what I'm going to introduce you here.
And quinoa is just the grain that we chose for this bowl. Any type of grain will do, especially a whole grain, because those have even more protein and fiber and essential vitamins and minerals. So the more closer to its natural form, the more nutritious it will be. And quinoa technically is actually a seed, not a grain, but it has, all the same kinds of nutrients and is higher in protein than a lot of other grains.
So now from this point, as we have introduced the stock into it which was at a room temperature, it might take a few minutes for it to come to a roll boil. And we do not want it to force cook it. We do not want to put on a super high heat, because what will happen, super high heat will evaporate all the juice, all the water from that, and all the liquid will be gone, but still the liquid will evaporate too early before it could make the grain soft. We want the grain to become soft. So gradually the flavor from all the stock, all the vegetable stock, and gets into it. So once you eat it, you don't feel like as if you ate something very, very bland. So that is the reason that we're blooming it inside the juice. So imagine if you are cooking a simple boiled rice with just water, and then you're cooking that same rice with some colored or flavored or water, just say example. So all the thing is absorbed in there. Okay. So once this start, we're going to give it another minute once it comes to roll boil. And I'm going to move this pot out of the camera and I'll put it on the stove on the side. Meanwhile, I'll watch it and we're going to start prepping some vegetables. Okay. So now you see that it has come to a small roll boil. Now I'm going to reduce the heat such that it is slowly cooking into it. And we have enough ample amount of time, because by the time we are done with the rest of the stuff, it will be right there and without force cooking it, okay, without burning it, so the entire idea is that the liquid evaporates. Yes, we want the liquid to evaporate, but at such a time that all the liquid is gone, but at the same time the grain is cooked. That's important. Okay.
So what heat are you reducing it to?
So I'm going to reduce it to, like, say, medium.
And should there be a lid on the pot or no?
No lid on the pot. And then because I'm going to watch it. And the thing is that maybe your oven, your stove is little, your stove, oven top stove or maybe is very strong with the heat. But all we're looking is no vigorous boiling than this. Because at this time it is cooking slow. Okay. So I'm going to move this aside, and then we get into prepping some vegetables, and we'll talk about some sanitation on that as well, and some safety as well. Okay. Wait me for a second.
So while Chef Rahul is moving that around, I'm actually going to share my screen really quickly. He's gathering the sweet potatoes and the cauliflower now, but I want to share my screen to show you this Mediterranean diet pyramid. This is just an example of how the Mediterranean diet can be, represented in a pyramid form, even though the food pyramid is not really the most updated way of recommending your daily or your weekly food intake, but it works in this case. And one of the very important parts about a Mediterranean diet or a Mediterranean lifestyle is that you'll see at the bottom of this pyramid, it's, people eating as a group and being active and socializing and moving their bodies. And it really, the Mediterranean lifestyle is very much about eating is a way of social connection, as compared to how many of us Americans will eat our lunch while, sending emails at our desks. So, not the most mindful way of living our lives, but that is a very important part. So also fruits and veggies and all plants, you'll see grains there, you'll see olive oil, you see nuts and seeds, you see all of that stuff all in one big section. That is the biggest part of this diet. This is a very plant-forward diet. And then seafood is separated out from other animal products because, again, seafood is a very big part of this diet. And seafood does not tend to have as much saturated fat as land animals do. So we'll talk a bit more about the fish in a little bit, but you'll see that seafood is a big part of this. Then you've got your yogurt and cheese and poultry above that. And then at the very top is sweets and meat other than poultry, dairy, and seafood. So it's important to kind of visualize this a little bit. So I'm going to go back to Chef Rahul. He's going to be starting the sweet potato.
All right, so sweet potato, that's been be the primary starch of our dish, and we have chosen it for different reasons, like because it is more nutrition. There's more nutrition in this than any other potatoes, and it is good for the diet. You know, so simple sweet potato could be of many different sizes. But what we're trying to do, if we're gonna, so here is couple of things that is coming. We want to finish this meal, not quick, but within a limited time. And then if you want to cook the whole sweet potato, it will take a longer time like this, because what happens again, we're not trying to force cook anything. So the heat has to penetrate from all the sides, and it might take a while. And when the heat penetrates, then it start cooking, and then from there it gets soft. But however, the same could be achieved in any kind of preparation or vegetable without losing the originality of the food by cutting it. So if we cut it into thinner pieces, we can cook it faster. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut it into, like, this is a bigger sweet potato, so I'm going to cut it into half. You have to be careful because it's a hard vegetable. And then after that, I'm going to see if there are any dirt, like the bruised sides of it or any other. So this sweet potato is great to eat with the skin, because actually the skin holds the meat together in this and give it a whole different look visually, and what looks good tastes good too. No, so now here we're gonna go. We slice like an 1/8 inch. It's like, so this sweet potato should provide what is in my hand for 4 people right now. So like about this much should be in a dish. So we're gonna cut all of it anyway. 8 size, and then 1/8 inch. And so this is my potato here. And as it, we're gonna keep the cooking simple, not complicated. Okay, and yet tasty and nourishing. And like if you are prepping at home or anything, so even if you only need this much, but you have this much, it is always wise to cook it at one time, because you are much more sustainable with the energy that you're going to spend to cook it and with everything else, because you can cook all of it at its best, and then you utilize what you want to utilize, and the next one could be for another meal, because this could stay well in the refrigerator. So this is another important point, cooking at home. Okay, nothing goes waste, as it should be everywhere. Now we're going to put it in a bowl right here, separated all of it, and then we're going to do oil, canola oil, and the oil is a little bit necessary because this is going to go inside the oven, and it needs a thin coating of oil, because oil, what it does, it helps the vegetable to catch some color. Okay, we mix this up, and then we're going to go salt and pepper, and that's simple it is. Salt, pepper, and 1/8 of a teaspoon around, 1/8 of a teaspoon pepper. And this is just the basic cooking. You can introduce, like if you like cumin, you like paprika, you like smoked paprika, or you have a special seasoning that you like from already prepared seasoning from the grocery store, you can utilize that. And we just go here and marinate it well in such a way that the seasonings are spreading, and also the oil is covering all the sides, because when it's going to go in the oven, the oil is going to help it not to first the skin to get the exposed part to dry, but it will also help to get some color. After that, we take a sheet pan and we're going to highlight the pieces here. So this goes there. After your sheet pan, and then we evenly spread it out, not to pile it. And then this is a baking sheet, and you can use a cake tin or whatever you may like. And even if you prefer, this could be slowly cooked on the stove top too. All right, so this is one of my vegetable prep. This goes on the side. Then we start with cauliflower. So
if you have a smaller apartment-sized oven, you can put these both on the same sheet pan, the cauliflower and the.
That's what I'm gonna show once I prep all of it. So we're gonna go here right now, and I'm gonna do the cauliflower. Now cauliflower, I bought the purple. Just I wanted to highlight that this could be available in many different colors. Looks great, and many or more times it is available in the supermarket, and or otherwise always the regular cauliflower, the white cauliflower is always available. So a couple of things that we want to show here, and it's again a technique that we don't go and cut it from top, never, okay? Because it's a flower and it breaks into fragments of florets. So what we do, we take the stems off here, the knife carefully, rolling it, and these stems are composted. Then we reach the core. Now there is a little bit of sustainability here. So the thing is that many vegetable prep, they could be utilized as the food which are by mistake composted because not enough thought is given on it. So now here is my cauliflower right here. I just got rid of this one. These are edible. These are very soft. And then we're gonna go from the bottom and start like detaching it, right? Not too far, a floret by floret, and we go all the way around, cutting at the bottom, so they look like some small trees, you know. And then you go here, and this is the stem. Now this is our cauliflower. Now we're going to break this down into smaller pieces because we want them to cook, and we want to expose the color too. So right here, see how colorful does it look? Like it has got different. It just got purple, and then the color gets lighter as it gets inside the stem. Now this
that's something that you'll see recurring in our classes, that we always talk about. You know, we have limited time in these classes, and of course nobody wants to be cooking longer than they have to at home. So if you cut your vegetables into smaller pieces, they cook faster. It's like a really simple thing to do. Maybe it takes a little bit more prep time because you're cutting a little bit more, but it allows the heat to go through you know, the stalk of the cauliflower and through the thickness of the sweet potato. So the smaller you cut it, the faster it cooks.
Also the other thing is that it helps to release whatever natural juice is inside, and the juices come out and caramelize, and that gives you a good taste and flavor. And also it exposes the surface area. And what does surface area do is only do one good thing. It catches more flavor. So you put salt and pepper and all that. So it is well covered. And once you eat it, it's on your palate and you enjoy it more. So that's why it should be cut small. And because it is properly cut, and it has to be fork friendly. So now we see that they are like not broken into floret, but they all have a stem, right? Now leave this aside. Now we're talking about a little bit about sustainability. So this piece is entirely edible, but some corners could be little chewy. So we just want to trim it. It has got the same nutritional value as and taste as the rest of the cauliflower stems. Like so, what you see here is right here, and so we only discard this much because it is chewy, right? And then this is going to cut up into different size, and you same as cauliflower. So
yeah, this is a great sustainable trick too. If you can't find just the florets at the store and you end up buying the kind with the stem, and even this cauliflower head didn't have much stem on it, but it's just like the cauliflower stem that's on the floret that you're eating. It's the exact same thing.
This cauliflower, since we're talking about the Mediterranean diet, so we're going to do the same thing, same principle. We're going to put a little bit of oil around it such that the seasoning stick to it, and second, it gets some color in the oven. Then after that, we're going to do salt, basic seasoning, pepper first, and salt. Right? And then to keep it Mediterranean, we're going to do zatar. So zatar is a mix of sumac, which is like a sour dry powder for plant-based. Then we have some other herbs in there, and then we have sesame. So again, want to point on this recipe that we cannot, if you are inviting people at your home, you all have to be aware that main allergen, and sesame we have been one. And we are also using pine nuts, so we should be aware of that. However, if you need, this could be eliminated, and some other seasonings and stuff can be used. So I'm going to season it generously with zatar, and that's about it. And it's going to taste super good. Now I'm going to again do the same thing. And you said how we expose the surface area, we want all of it to get the benefit of it. So we just go here, and we don't want to leave anything in the bowl, on the wall of the bowl. And then that's how it looks like. Nicely marinated, enough oil, but not too much, and all that. So now here it comes, like how we can combine cooking. So what we have done here, and this is another trick what Eliza was saying, that we're going to use the same cooking container, because we just want to be quick and efficient. And so this is, we have cut the potato in such a small, thin sizes, thin thickness, and this cauliflower is made into small floret, such that they're nearly cooked, finishing cooking at the same time. So now this is one of my item prep, right? Now, once I'm going to go hit the oven, I want to be efficient. I want to do all my, as I say, plan of work, all my stuff going into the oven, one shot. And it's I have to only go back there and pull it as I need it. And still the quality stays the same. So the next item is pine nut. And this goes on this here. And then I'm going to put the pine nut into the oven as well. And I'll be back in a minute. Okay.
You're muted, Eliza.
Yeah.
You're muted.
I'm muted.
Shoot, sorry. Okay, so this, you've seen this before, healthy eating plate, but this is really helpful with visualizing the healthy eating plate in something like this grain bowl that is all in one bowl, So we want to be sure that we have a good representation of non-starchy vegetables. So we're adding the arugula at the end, in addition to the cauliflower that we're roasting. We don't have fruit, but that could be something that you would easily add in another kind of grain bowl, maybe some strawberries on top, or like sliced oranges or something like that. We've got lots of good grains. We've got lots of healthy protein. And of course, we have our healthy oils as well, with the oil that we're using to cook and the dressing that we're going to be making, as well as, of course, Mediterranean diet, you have to drizzle some olive oil on top of everything you make. So that's what we're going to be doing as well. So I'll get back to Rahul, but keep this in mind when you're thinking of how you can modify a grain bowl.
So back, I just picked this up from the stove, and you see it is still absorbing the liquid, and you have to be watchful, and that's what I've been doing when I put my vegetables in the oven. I just check this quinoa, and I know it's very close, but it is a little watery, So I'm going to let it go at a very low heat, very low heat, such that all the water need to be absorbed. We don't want to waste any water, because if we have to drain, we will have to drain, but we don't want to make, one thing, a very overcooked quinoa, and second, we do not want to throw away any of that flavor. So we have measured this recipe before we have sent it to you, and it worked nearly perfect if it's not force cooked. Okay, please. So I'll bring it back to you.
And also, so Rahul was saying we don't want to throw away the liquid because we're going to lose flavor, but we're also going to lose nutrients. As with anything, if you like boil it, boil vegetables, or if you cook grains in a liquid and not all that liquid is absorbed and used, then the liquid, as it's boiling, the the plant, it's leaching out the nutrients. So what you want is to have a perfectly measured amount of liquid and quinoa or whatever it is you're cooking, so that all the liquid is absorbed and any of the nutrients that leach out into the water are soaked right back inside again. And you don't lose those, and flavor as well.
So now, now we go back and refer to our plan of work. That was first to get the quinoa going, such that it's continue cooking, prep our vegetables, marinate them, put them inside, put the pine nuts in the oven, check the quinoa, and I have a timer on my pine nuts, so it will ring very soon and the pine nuts will be out. But meanwhile, what we want to do, we want to make, the next step is to make a dressing, and this time we have chosen to make a tahini vinaigrette. Okay, and it involves mustard, lemon juice, and honey, and of course tahini, and little olive oil in there. Okay, so we're gonna make it, and it's very simple, because like for any of the fish dish or any of the bowls that you make, something with acidity helps. So a simple vinaigrette would be, oh, my timer went off. In a second.
Fast timer. Can you all see, what views can you see right now? Can you see all three overhead, looking at Rahul and looking at me? I've spotlighted.
No, you're spotlighted and everybody else is small.
Oh, interesting. That's weird. I'm gonna remove. Can you, is now the overhead view spotlighted?
Not on mine.
I think you are still spotlighted, Eliza.
So now you see our nuts are a proper golden color and they are out. And one thing I want to emphasize on the pine nuts or any kind of other nuts you may be toasting in the future, one thing to know is that once you pull it out of the oven, it is still continue to cook and color. Okay, so once you pull it, it looks a little bit like pale, but by the time we are done, by the time it cools down to room temp and ready to use, it will have the proper color. Okay? So this is very important because the nuts burn very fast, because the moment they are exposed, first of all, the volume of each nut is so small, and once it is exposed to the heat, the oil comes out and helps to kind of oil start coming to the surface and helps to catch color. So this is right here, perfectly colored. Leave it on the side, go later use, and I have checked.
Can you all see the overhead view now? Is that spotlighted for you?
Yes.
Okay,
Good.
so
Yes.
now, as we said, we were talking about the dressings and vinaigrette, right? So for a vinaigrette, it is usually like 3 parts of acid to 1 part of oil. And why oil is added is to stabilize it, to make a emulsion. So like if you take a vinegar of any kind or lemon juice or orange juice, any kind of acid, and mix it with oil, they will never mix. But once you shake it up, once you shake, what happens? That they mix into each other, the fine globules of each of the liquid, they got dispersed inside each other, and it makes a semi-stationary thick liquid, but which start degenerating and start splitting. To that time we add emulsifier into it, and there are many natural emulsifier, and one of them is Dijon mustard, which is very readily available and is the basic of 99% of the vinaigrettes. So that's what we're going to do. So as we know that we're going to use something very sour, then we're going to use oil, and then we're going to use Dijon mustard, but then the sourness still stands out. It's very tart. So we balance it with a little bit of sweetness. And then also to balance all of it, then we add salt and pepper. And this is your basic vinaigrette. And now, and we're going to add to tahini to that. Okay. So that's how it is. So or either way, all these ingredients go inside. So what we're going to do, we're going to start the main ingredient first, tahini.
And tahini is a sesame seed paste.
Paste, yes.
This is something that is, I feel like you most often hear about it used in hummus in addition to chickpeas. But this is like a good Mediterranean kind of Middle Eastern ingredient.
So this tahini paste is made out of untoasted sesame seeds, because once you make the sesame seed toasted, it is completely different flavor. It is almost like the sesame that you taste in the Asian cooking. Okay? And after
That was 2 tablespoons of tahini paste,
half
half a teaspoon of Dijon,
yeah. Then you have your
One
uh,
teaspoon of
honey.
honey.
Yeah. And it's little
Got
thick.
the recipe right in front of me if anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, Rahul already has his measured out. So just in case anybody else doesn't, I'll read it out to you.
And then after that, 2 tablespoons of oil.
Yes.
And then we have a lemon juice from 1 lemon. I use fresh lemon. I'm going to put this on my starting agent here. And then I'm going to mix it first, okay? Emulsify this. And again, if you are measuring it and putting it, all goes well. And if you think, if it is too thick, you can add little water, but at the end, and you add gradually, few drops at a time, okay? And now this vinaigrette is enough when it's going to be ready. This vinaigrette is going to be enough to season 4 entrees, okay? 4.
So all the ingredients except the oil go in first. And that's really the preferred way of making a vinaigrette, because you want to have the Dijon mustard is a really helpful emulsifying ingredient. So when you have the Dijon mustard already in there and then you add the oil and mix it all together, that Dijon helps to emulsify the water, which is the lemon juice, and the oil.
Now we're going to add salt and about 8 teaspoons of that. And we're good. So now if you see that this is looking very thick and we want it to be like this, for the reason when we're going to pour it on top of we're going to pour it around, or especially on top of the fish is going to be hot, and we don't want this to be like just watered down, okay? We want it to be like visible. Now if you want it thinner than this, you just add few drops or maybe a quarter or 8 teaspoons of water in this, and it will come out thick, okay? So now I put this aside. Another item ready. I'm going to go back and check the quinoa and my vegetables in that one.
So all of those ingredients, I'm worried to take this away. I'm worried that this overhead view is not going to be spotlighted anymore. So I'm just going to talk over it. So all of the ingredients in the dressing, we encourage you to taste it and make sure it meets your liking. If you want more salt and pepper, please do. I would probably add more lemon juice because I love lemon. But add whatever amounts of any of the ingredients you like. And also you'll see at the end when Rahul was talking about drizzling the dressing over the top of the salmon, when the dressing goes on something hot like the salmon, it will become a little bit more loose and liquidy. But if you want it to be easier to drizzle, then feel free to add like a little bit, like a teaspoon of water, and whisk that together and see how you feel, or more lemon juice and see how you feel about that consistency.
Okay, so now, as we said that we're going to prep in such a way that there is no cross-contamination. So all our ingredients, I've not missed any of those. All the ingredients that were plant-based and or were not from any animal product, they are processed. So now we're going to go and start working on our fish. So although this cutting board is green, I'm going to change it because I use it at home. You can use what cutting board you have, but it's preferred if you can have it washed or clean.
In commercial food service like us, we have different colored cutting boards for different things because it just keeps everything safe. Green is for anything that's plants, but blue is for fish.
So now the thing is that in this recipe we're using salmon, and the salmon is like we're going to use the skin on salmon, and the reason that we want to use skin on salmon that it is sustainable, and that's something that I want to talk to you about, is that when we buy a whole fish, of course the guts and the gills and then the rest and the head has to be discarded or utilized for some other products to be made from the fish. But that is like about the 40% of the fish, like the whole fish weight is gone into that. But the rest of it, out of that is like about 12 to 14% is the skin. And skin is a very underrated part of the fish because restaurants, they do capitalize on it. They want to serve the fish skin crisp. And how to do that? And that's what we're going to achieve in this class today. So what I do is like I take my knife, and you have to be very careful, very sharp knife, and I'm going to score it like how you go here. And usually I put it on a cutting board and score it, but it's just such a small fillet. I just do it like this. You will see. But I suggest that you put a cutting board and put a cut on that and score the skin. Now, why we scoring the skin? What is the reason? Do we want to be fancy? Yes, we do. But also at the same time, what happens when the skin is exposed to the heat? It starts shrinking, and when it shrinks, it starts to warp the fish. Maybe not this thick piece, the loin part, but if it is a belly part or any other part, it will once it shrinks, it will make it warp like this. So it is not a good look, okay? Because once we want to turn it around, we want this side to be flat, so you get enough heat and color, and it gets some caramelization, right? So now this. Then the other important thing of making a crispy skin is to keep the skin completely dried. Okay, yes, there will be oil and marination on that, but the skin has to have no water whatsoever. Right? That's very, very, very important part. If your fish, the skin side or this side is wet with water, it is definitely going to stick. Oh, of course, you use a very high-tech non-stick pan. It may not, but if you are not with a very high-tech, very, very new non-stick pan, that process is going to go down very, very quick because it's going to stick, and then you have to scrape the bottom and all that, right? So what are we going to do now to season this? So very simple seasoning for this. Yes, we're going to use a little bit of oil again. And salmon being an oily fish, we just need just sufficient amount of oil to just coat it such that the rest of the herbs and the seasoning that we are putting sticks to this. Okay. So you're going to do, I'm using spoon so I don't contaminate my other oil here. And then just have a little bit of just coating oil here. Then I'm going to go and thyme. And the herbs could be of your choice, but I like to put some thyme and parsley or any kind of other herbs. But before putting that, I'm going to do some salt and pepper. And the important part on this is that once we do the salt and pepper, we have to be very, very careful because I do this every day. It's easy because it's like a quarter to 1/8 spoon of salt upon any seasoning. And then after that, we do a little bit of pepper. There we go. And then you mix this, and then there it goes. So now the main idea is not to get too much herb on the skin side because this side will be exposed to the heat the maximum amount of time. So the herbs will go there. Yes, they will impart a nice flavor and all that, but it is more useful to have it on the flesh side. Okay, and it looks good, better too. So that's what we want to try to do is we put the herbs on the flesh side. Of course, some will go, but main idea is to have it on the flesh side. Okay, looks like a lot, but you will see it will all fall off. And this is my thyme. And then to add, and you may choose if you want to, you may choose to, and I'm going to take out this glove because I'm going to take a lemon and zest the lemon in there. And lemon zest is very great flavor maker because it imparts the flavor of the lemon due to the oils in the skin that we scrape off. But however, it does not make it sour to the smell of that lemon. To get that much of lemon smell out of lemon juice is impossible because all the oils from the skin is that what holds the taste in there. Okay, so I just do a scrape. It's just like doing a sanding the skin out right here like this. So it's a zester, and then you can use zest from any citrus fruit, limes, lemons, oranges, grapefruit, you name it. You can use all. If it is citrus, it is welcome to the fish. And then we go here.
And lemon is very often paired with seafood because lemon actually helps to kind of like neutralize that fishy taste. So, this is a great addition. You can add, lemon juice to this at the end in addition to the dressing, but that's one of the reasons why we added lemon juice in the dressing too.
Right. So just here at this point, as you see, we are trying not to get it on the skin side. So what we're going to take the flesh side and scrape it. Okay. So it's going to kind of stick like this. And if we dab it like this, and it is ready to go. Okay. We try to put as much as of herb because what will happen is not sticking now. But when the meat start cooking, when the flesh start cooking, it will catch onto it. Okay. And it looks so colorful, appetizing, So it's a pretty colorful, appetizing, and it smells so good because of the lemon zest on that, right? So I'm going to put this away. I'm going to wash my hands, and then after that, always sanitation first. And then I'm going to start with the stove, and I'm going to put my pan on it. Then I go check my vegetables and the other stuff that's there. You can forget about that.
All right, so yeah, we've got just under 10 minutes left till 6 o'clock. So this salmon actually cooks more quickly than you would think, especially when the intent is to have your pan on high heat. And then when you put it skin side down, it sears that skin very well. And most of the time it's cooking, it's going to be on the skin side is going to be down. And then you flip it just for a few minutes and it's cooked fully. And with fish, the cooking temperature, the safe cooking temperature is 145. So if you have a thermometer at home, a kitchen thermometer, use that to determine whether it's fully cooked or not. But what's cool about this is you can also see the color. Rahul will point it out. And I think we sometimes have some audio interference with this induction cooker when it's on high heat. So I may need to mute Rahul at one point and just explain this process. Yeah, right, it's okay. But yeah, you'll see how as the heat is, when the salmon is skin side down and the heat is coming through the fish, you'll see on the sides of the fillet that the color is changing. And it's darker on top because that's not been cooked yet, but it's kind of, the heat is working its way up.
So now, meanwhile, since the pan was getting heated and we keep checking, as we said, we don't take anything for granted. You see our quinoa is fully cooked, all the liquid is absorbed and like nothing stuck, nothing like got crispier and all that, right? So meanwhile, we are doing this. Let me see what we can do. We're going to add a little bit of scallions to that. Let's take a minute while the pan at the bottom is getting heated up and we do not miss to finish the class on time. And then I'm going to put some parsley. More the herb, the better it is. I'm not going to put any thyme in this, not required. These two subtle flavors, we mix it up a little bit. And now it looks so like kind of not too shiny or anything, but no need, because we're going to finish the dish with some olive oil and that will work out well. And so it will get the dressing on it. Okay. So these are our hot quinoa ready to go. Now nothing happens with this because it is out of the heat. So just hold on. And for a few minutes, so we're going to see that our pan is hot. We're going to go with a very light coating of oil, because remember, salmon is an oily fish, is going to impart its own oil, and we see that is spread out very well. Okay. And then we go here and we just let it sit until we see like a little heat in there. So
we have a question, Rahul, while we're waiting for that to heat up. Susan asks, is there a thermometer, a digital thermometer that you can use for meat and fish and liquids?
Yes, you can use. So any digital thermometer can go below up to -50, and it can go up to like at work to the oven, and then up to 220 minimum. Okay. So I'm just gonna go back, check my veggies out. I know the pan is hot, or I let that thing ring a little bit and we drop the fish here. Okay. So now my pan was on high heat, almost smoking. I'll go down to like a 3/4 the way, like medium high, and I drop my fish right here. And you see a sizzle coming out. I'll be back in a second. I hope my veggies are ready.
So this is the point where everything is kind of ending at the same time. So he's going to get the vegetables out of the oven. The sweet potato and the cauliflower should be good. Those of you that are cooking along with us, how are you doing so far? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Hopefully you're doing okay. Thumbs up. We got a thumbs up. Okay, good. Oh, Catherine says Chef Rahul recommended last year the Taylor digital thermometer and she loves it. That's great. Good to know. Thanks for remembering that and for buying that. Yeah, digital thermometers are way easier to use than the ones that actually have like the meter. That's just too, the temperature range is not big enough with those ones.
So here is our sweet potatoes ready with just enough amount of oil. You don't see any oil on the sheet pan. They're properly seasoned. You can see the specks of black pepper, and it's properly roasted cauliflower right here. Okay, this will make the dish look really, really well. The nut flavor. So I just leave it aside, and we're going to talk a little bit about cooking the salmon here. So how we want it to go, and then we can keep talking while it is cooking and getting better, is that we want to heat to rise from the bottom. And when the heat is rising, we have seasoned, we have done everything, we put the salmon down, okay? And we don't even bother to look at it until for a minute, like how we have not done or two, unless you see a lot of smoke going around, and we do not want that. And we just keep tilting the pan such that the oil, whatever is there, it goes and starts cooking on the side, okay? As you can see, like how I'm doing it. Now it's, I think it is visible more on the camera, like how it is sizzling at the bottom, right? This moment. And I have to keep my pan down. If the stove was a different gas stove, it was a different story, but I have to keep my pan in contact so I don't lose the continuity of providing heat to it, okay? So now once this is cooking, and this is the most critical part of cooking a salmon. Either you cook it on a very high heat and the skin will burn and be bitter. And the other one is you cook on a medium heat and you let the heat gradually rise and make the skin get crispier and release some of the essential oils that are behind under the skin actually and between the fillet. And from there on, the heat is rising little by little, little by little, little by little. But the first layer, that is the skin, is in contact with the very hot pan, or medium hot pan, which is not burning it, and it is getting crispier. So the part that is in contact, the surface that is in contact with the pan is getting crisp, and that's what we want. So at this point, it's smoking a little bit, and I'm going to just lift from one side and check how it is. Oh my God, it's lovely. And then we go here, and you have already achieved your restaurant color right here.
That looks great.
And then you see how I was trying to explain, but now I have a visual available here, how the skin has shrunk, you see, and it gives it a nice look. And usually this is done in very high-end restaurants. And this is one of the tricks that is very easy, and it creates a wow effect, a wow factor than a salmon. So this same thing could have been done with a fillet without a skin, but with skin is even better. Okay. So now what we do is we're not going to force cook it. Now, if you look at it, this side, you see that it is like almost half an inch cooked already. So now we want the heat to rise from the other side and both meet in between, and the most juiciest part will be right in the middle. Okay. So that's pretty much our dish. Now,
so while that's cooking, that fish is cooking, we can talk a bit about salmon specifically. And so obviously, those of us who love sushi, we eat raw salmon. So it's just a matter of getting very high quality salmon that you know has been temperature controlled from start to finish, and there's no risk of it being, you know, in the temperature danger zone or exposed to, you know, that can promote bacteria growth. So if you are buying it from a reputable buyer and you're, you know, it's a trusted grocery store or trusted fishmonger, you know you're getting the good quality stuff, so you don't have to worry so much about cooking temperature. But you know, it's we here at HMS in our cafes, we always cook our fish to 145 because that's the safest way for like feeding the masses. But at home, you can choose to do it however you like. And sometimes in restaurants, they'll ask if you how you like your salmon cooked. You know, do you want to cook medium? So it may not be, if it's not fully cooked, it won't like flake apart as much as it normally does if it's fully cooked. But yeah, the safest way to go is to cook it to 145. So that's always what our goal is.
So now, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, if it's ready to.
Yeah, it will be ready in a minute. So I just want to say another piece, like the thicker side, right? We can stand it to the side of the pan like this. Now I go like this for a few minutes. It is rising to the right spot. And if it is a restaurant, they would have served this fish right now because they like to serve it like medium inside. So it is like a little creamy when it's consumed. And salmon is not one of the like a good quality salmon is not any harm of eating it medium rare, and there's a consumer advisory though, but there's no harm in the restaurant. That's how they want to serve it unless asked to be cooked well done. So medium is the way that it is preferred to be served, right? And then I'm going to turn it into the
So I know we're a little over 6 o'clock now. So if any of you
Yeah, we are ready. We are ready.
don't expect you, but do know that we are recording this, and every class that we teach, we put on YouTube and we send out the link to everyone at the end of the class. So if you can't stick around for the very end, then you will get the link by the end of this week in your email. But if you are able to stick around, we're happy that you're staying. So thank you very much.
Salmon is ready. I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to get rid of the stove here, and we can put it right here. So I have chosen a black background, so it gives a lift to the color. I'm going to put any kind of greens, and this time I'm using arugula, a decent amount of arugula nest here. Doesn't need any dressing right now. Then our quinoa, which is already ready. We go here.
And as you're plating this for yourself, whatever portions you prefer, go for it. But this is just
Like a cup works. So
our
it's
suggested ratio.
a filling meal. Then after that, our salmon. So I just want to point out one thing, that our salmon on the other side it has got a nice color too, right? Okay, and this is the skin side, which is crisp, and this is the other side, and this is the other side. So everywhere it looks lovely. Okay, and then we're gonna put right here, right on top, like cross. Then our next ingredient will be veggies. Here it comes. And more the veggies, the better it is. But we're gonna just decorate this pan. This one. This one.
And we chose these vegetables just because they were colorful. They give different flavors and different textures to the dish, but you can choose whatever vegetables you like. And we chose to slice the sweet potato this way because it would cook more quickly and also because it looks nice. So this is all very much about, we want it to look as good as it tastes. If something looks really delicious, then you are more likely to be satisfied, mentally satisfied. If it tastes delicious, then you're physically satisfied. If it looks delicious, then you're mentally satisfied.
So this is our cauliflower. And remember, we talk about the stems, and the stem look like this right now. And I want to utilize them and feature them that they are there, right? Okay, and then after that, here we go. And now next, what we're going to do is our dressing, which is thick right now. This is how thick it is. So I'm going to put a little bit here on the salmon here, so it still doesn't cover all of the salmon and give enough of a taste. And at this point, we can choose to add little water to this, mix it up and pour it. But I think there is enough of the dressing there. We're going to do a little bit of olive oil, and we should be good. And pine nuts. So we have a little bit of olive oil, a spoonful, shine the fish up, shine the vegetables.
And we also, we chose the pine nuts because in addition to, we always talk about this at the end of all of our classes, we want everything to taste good. We want everything to look good. And it also makes your dish more interesting if you just have different textures. So adding your crunchies, that's what I call it my dinner at home. I need a crunchie on top, breadcrumbs on top of something, or toasted pine nuts or anything like that. Adding a crunchy just brings it up a notch. So this is our really delicious grain bowl. And this can be modified in so many different ways, but this is a great representation of all the food groups except for fruit. We've got lots of non-starchy veggies to make up for the lack of fruit, but we've got lots of food groups, lots and lots of nutrients in here. Very, very filling, lots of different flavors, different textures, and all a great example of the Mediterranean diet. So we hope that those of you that are cooking, I'm going to put it on grid view because I like to see everybody at the end, or gallery view. So
here's our dish.
Feel like that. Yeah, it looks great.
How many questions? And
how's it going at home? Or we're about to see show good. Wow, that's beautiful. Oh my God, that looks amazing. Yay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yay, so glad. That's awesome.
we would like to get a picture of that. No?
I know. Yeah. Email me a picture, Shogo.
Okay. Yeah, you. Yay.
Good job helping.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good dinner.
終わんないでね。よし、行こ
Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Again, we'll send you the YouTube link.
う。これ、止まらせ
Really appreciate you sticking around these extra 6 minutes. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you very soon. And please do reach out if you want to set up some, department, private, team building teaching kitchens. We are really happy to do that for anybody. So, and if you have any questions, we'll stick around for a couple minutes. Questions or comments, we're happy to answer. But thank you all very, very much.
Looks
Thank you.
amazing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
Good one.
Bye-bye.